Devlin, Untamed.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The Platform.
Welcome to the podcast, people. iOS, it's only sport. Martin Devlin, Lachlan War. iOS is the name of our daily sports program, aired live on the platform every afternoon between 1 and 4. You've got to download the app or listen off the website, theplatform.kiwi. We are the only true independent daily radio sports program in this country. Talking today, rugby, South Africa versus Ireland. The international bar has been raised, and it's not by us. The best match over the weekend, the best performances by any teams were Loftus Versfeld, South Africa versus Ireland. We went to South Africa to discuss that test and the fact that those two teams already look a class above. Lulu's son playing overnight at Wimbledon. The former Kiwi tennis pro Alistair Hunt was on the program talking about how tough it is on tour. Just how brutal the life is. It's changed probably forever now for Lulu. She get a hell of a lot more invites. She's got some prize money. But as you're digging away, playing satellite tournaments on your own, the loneliness of it, no money, no budget, how tough is it? You don't get it handed to you on a plate like you do if you're a white fern or a football fern. Is unacceptable acceptable? The NRL boss of A-League competitions, Graham Annesley, said yesterday that the Warriors got stuffed by the bunker, and it's unacceptable. Well, are you happy with that? Are you prepared to accept that it's unacceptable? Could we have won that game? Well, we could have been in a position to have won the game if the bunker hadn't have cocked up that call. Novak Djokovic sounding off at fans at Wimbledon. European Football Championship semi-finals to talk about. Marco Rojas back at the Phoenix. I'm completely underwhelmed by that. There was so much sport to cover today, and we'll try and squeeze it all into the podcast for you. We begin the day the same way every single time, which is tablets in hand. I say, gather my flock. Time for a sermon. Well, what is unacceptable? Let's go to the mountaintop.
We live in an amazing, amazing world, and it's wasted on the crappiest generation of just spoiled idiots.
Unacceptable. That's the official word from NRL Head of Football Operations, Graham Annesley, regarding the bunker botch-up that failed to award a clear penalty to the Warriors right out in front with 7 minutes to go after the hit on Te Maire Martin Saturday night versus the Bulldogs. He says it was late contact to the head, should have been a penalty. Unacceptable that the bunker did not register the incident. The guy in the bunker was Adam G. Annesley says the real question is, should this have been penalised on the field? And the answer to that is clearly yes, it should have been, not because it was high, but because it was late. We think this is a miss by the match officials. It's an error. No one is trying to make excuses for it. No one's hiding from that. So, is that vindication, Warriors fans, or another exercise in excuse in so what? The bunker guy was so focused on the head contact, he didn't register. It was clearly late. Look, people make mistakes. We know that. The players, the refs, the administrators, all of us watching, no one is perfect. But these guys are paid, very well paid, in fact, to get these things right. And there's enough time, people, close-up angles, replays, slow-mos, protocols in place to make sure they do get things right. And they got this one wrong. They got it so wrong. Did it cost the Warriors the game? You can't say yes for sure, because at that stage there was still 7 minutes left. But it was at a very crucial juncture. It was right out in front. A gimme 2 points that would have put the team ahead by 2 with those 7 minutes to play. And that could have been the game. It might have been the game. It certainly was kickable. And that's what makes the whole thing as frustrating as all hell. Kickable means winnable, which makes calling it unacceptable just so goddamn unacceptable.
Devlin.
What do you want? We want information. Information. You won't get it.
The Platform.
To South Africa we go to talk Boks versus Ireland. First up on the show after the headlines, Lachlan.
Where to start? Shall I track back in time?
Go on.
Jump into the minds of Warriors fans on Saturday afternoon. You couldn't be blamed for thinking, if you were a Warriors fan between the hours of 5 and 7 on Saturday evening, that you were actually dreaming. But it wasn't a dream, it was a nightmare, and hopefully you'd wake up soon. It wasn't. and your loss to the Bulldogs this is. Mm-hmm. And there's little voices.
We've already had a text in, Martin. I think it was a penalty. They knew it was a penalty. They didn't award it because it's the Warriors. I do feel they decided not to give us that one because Stop it, mate. There's no conspiracy theory here. They cocked it up. They got it wrong. We're on the wrong end of it. It's as simple as that.
Here's the
it's
thing
a bugger.
That Warriors fans, like all NRL fans, I fall into this trap as a Broncos fan. When calls go against your team, and you notice them more than other teams because you watch your team and you care about your team. You're invested in it like it's a child of yours. Or if you're dumb like us, it's a child of yours. So when a call goes against you, it sticks with you a little bit harder and longer than if calls go against other teams. And if it happens more than once in a season, then you're like, oh, it's a conspiracy.
Oh, no, it's not a conspiracy. The Aussie teams don't want the Warriors to win, mate. They don't want us to win. No, they don't want.
You guys get stiffed by the refs in the bunker as much as every other team. All right?
The issue is how they can get this wrong.
Yeah,
not the fact that we were on the wrong end of it.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So the Warriors, the NRL's head of football elite competitions, Graham Annesley, certainly doesn't work for the Warriors, admits that a late hit on Warriors half Te Maire Martin in their match against the Bulldogs on the weekend that went unpunished should have been a penalty. We think this is a miss by the match officials and it's unacceptable, but that's what took place. That's what he said. The great thing I love about this is Graham Annesley fronts I guess it's the media. I actually don't know if media go along to his talk because he talks as if there's a crowd there, but you never really see them. He holds these talks every Monday evening. He's done it for years. And yet there's always something he defends, essentially, or has to go, yeah, we got that wrong. But it's not as if, he's stopped having to have these little talks on a Monday because they've gotten things right. He still does them years. I remember watching them years ago, and he's still doing them now. Anyway, Red Bull team principal Christian Horner has downplayed Liam Lawson's upcoming Formula One test at Silverstone, despite pressure mounting on Sergio Perez. Here's a couple of quotes from Christian Horner. He said, in all seriousness, the Liam test is an aero run that has been planned for a couple of months now. But of course, Checo Perez is under pressure. That's normal in Formula One. Every driver is different. Some drivers need an arm around the shoulder. Some need a kick up the arse. It varies from week to week. What I like here is that he says it's been planned for months. So maybe that'll sort of cool the talk about Liam Lawson getting a seat next year. These test drives, all these politics, they always go on in Formula One, people. The Wellington Phoenix have landed what's been described in the Herald as a major signing. I wouldn't call it a major signing. I'd just call it a signing. They've signed Marco Rojas, All Whites winger, securing his services for the 2024-25 A-League men's season. It's a good move, certainly. He is a player that is really highly rated by the New Zealand football fans. Find a bit odd. Wimbledon results. Novak Djokovic beating Holger Rune in straight sets, 6-3, 6-4, 6-2. Taylor Fritz beat Alexander Zverev. Zverev was up 2-0. Then he dropped 3 in a row to lose that match. Alex de Minaur winning in 4 sets as well. The women's singles draw. Elena Rybakina winning in a walkover, actually. The 2022 champion is Rybakina, so she advances. Elena Svitolina winning in straight sets as well. Barbara Krejcikova, Yelena Ostapenko, all winning in straight sets. Now, if you look at the bracket just quickly for Lulu Sun, who of course plays tonight in her quarterfinal, midnight. She's playing Croatian, what's her name again? Donna Vekic. Those 2 players are unseeded. Every other quarterfinal has a seeded player in it. So it's 6 seeded players, but they're all crammed into 3 quarterfinals, if that makes sense. A reminder, Lulu Sun plays at midnight tonight for you Kiwi sports fans, or just, people who like watching nice stories take place, because this is a great story, not just for New Zealand sport, but for New Zealand and for Lulu Sun and her family. In a move that surprised the golfing world, Keegan Bradley will captain the United States in the 2025 Ryder Cup against Europe. The 38-year-old was not the PGA of America's first choice for the role, but has accepted it after Tiger Woods, 15-time major champion, turned it down. Some football headlines. Craig Bellamy is set to be named the new Welsh football manager. He is currently at Burnley, where he had been acting head coach before Scott Parker's appointment last week. Apparently, Manchester United have upped the ante in their pursuit of Everton's, what's his name? Jared Branthwaite, defender. Toffee's rejected a £35 million bid from United. It is understood that the revised offer is around £45 million, so they've increased it by 10 mil. Apparently Luke Shaw is fit and ready to go for England, ready to play a full 90 minutes in their semi-final against the Netherlands, which is on Thursday morning, which is really good for England because they've been battling away without a fully fit left-footed left-back, not centre-back. So with Luke Shaw being available. That'd be great news for them. I'm just surfing the mass media news websites. Not really a huge amount going around in terms of rugby or rugby league. So for the time being, Martin, that's what's making news.
Devlin.
Oh my goodness me!
The platform.
South Africa versus Ireland was a cut above and a class above. International rugby over the weekend. These two teams seem to have raised the bar. How long did the Boks have to prepare? They've got new coaches on board. All of their players play all around the world. None of these excuses profit or offered by them. And they turned in a performance which was better than what we saw from them at the Rugby World Cup. Philisande Sakaba from Supersport, just outlining the preparation that went into that Boks performance. How long had the team been together? How much preparation had you had?
Not a long time, I think because of that Wales test match falling outside of the World Rugby window, so it meant that the coaching staff couldn't pick the players that they probably would have wanted to pick in terms of the seniority of it. But all the alignment camps have taken place throughout the year, which has given the coaching staff and the players enough time to sort of prepare, whether it be mentally, and also tactically off the pitch, and then getting on to the pitch. I think all of the alignment caps that happened during the year sort of set them up for when they do get together and have a proper field session. So you could say it wasn't a lot of time in terms of field practice and getting systems right on the field, but certainly this group of players have been together for quite a number of years now. It's sort of a plug and play sort of a system now, especially with those alignment caps that build up into the start of the season. So yeah, pretty good, pretty decent start from South Africa, but I think that they want to absolutely build on that and going into that second test match in Durban.
Philisande, just explain to us again the changes in the coaching setup. Tony Brown brought in, yes.
Yeah, it's Tony Brown who deals with the attack, and then Jerry Flannery brought in from the English Premiership to look after the defence after Jacques Nienaber left to Leinster, and then a couple of other additions. Dwayne Vermeulen is part of the coaching staff. He looks to work with Dan Human, who is the scrum coach, and Dion Davids, who's the forwards coach. So there's a lot of rugby IP that's flowing around that forward structure, and then of course the Laws coach, if you want to call him that, Jaco Paper, who recently retired as a test match referee, is also part of that South African coaching staff who really sort of updates them about the laws of the game and how referees look to interpret them, and different referees look to interpret the laws of the game. So it's a nice sort of blend of coaches now, especially with Dwayne Vermeulen coming in. He brings more of the closeness towards the playing group as possible. He's recently retired, so he's played with these group of players. There's a lot of good relations between him and the current crop of players, and of course Tony Brown is world class in terms of setting up attacks. He's done so with Japan. He's done so with the Highlanders for a number of years. So it's a nice coaching setup.
Philisande Sakaba from Supersport is with us. Did Andy Farrell have valid gripes? He said questions about the referee is what he said.
Well, I mean, the referee will always be under the spotlight, whether a team wins or loses. I thought, with the new TMO protocols that they were being trialed in this series, I thought the referee was really good on the day. I thought Luke Pierce was really fair in his interpretation, both sides of the coin. And I think, if you look at the performance of both sides, they did warrant a couple of cards either side, and duly South Africa got a few. So it's one of those things that the officiating will always be a talking point, whether you're on the losing side or the winning side. And I think it's we hope that one day the coaches and players will move on from the discussion of whether the referee had a really good day or a really bad day.
How good was that last scrum?
Power.
Just dominance, wasn't it?
It's actually funny. It's funny, I think, when those they call it the bomb squad here in South Africa, when those 6 fresh forwards came on, you sort of thought to yourself, well, this is where the game is going to be won or lost from a South African point of view. And then that last scrum was just powerful. You've got guys that, have been in the South African setup for a number of years. And then you've got a youngish, in terms of experience at test match level, Loosehead, who came on in Gerard Steenkamp at his home ground. He probably, had a lot of adrenaline pumping through his veins, eager to impress, playing in front of his home fans at Loftus Versfeld. So, it was good. It's good to watch, good to see. And I think it's one of those things where South African rugby is really, really strong at and healthy in terms of the firepower and the forwards that they are able to produce. And Saturday was no different.
I got to say, the national anthem was incredible. I know that that's got nothing to do with the actual game or anything like that. Sure, it inspires the crowd. It was just joyous to see, though. We spoke about this after the World Cup, didn't we? About what that victory meant, about just the bringing together of the team, about the words from Sia, all of these different things. And I thought that manifested again in that national anthem. There's just so much emotion there.
No, absolutely. I mean, Loftus it's a special place, and when that national anthem was being sung out, it was brilliant. It was beautiful to watch. I mean, being there at the stadium and on the day, it looked and felt like an atmosphere that you've never felt before. Especially when you South Africa is built up of different cultures, different sort of ethnic groups, and it's reflected in the national anthem. The first few stanzas are in different languages, and it was so beautiful to see so many South Africans pouring their voices out and singing those first 2 stanzas, and then the rest of the national anthem in English and in Afrikaans was absolutely beautiful. And it's one of the things that the South African rugby side has the power to sort of create. It's that togetherness and standing together as a nation, especially throughout the difficult parts of what makes South Africa. And I think that national anthem just epitomizes how different but how beautiful South Africa is.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full.
Devlin. The platform.
Felisande Sekapa from Supersport there. Again, I love to bring you views from outside of our country because those that aren't embroiled in the mainstream sports media here, I believe, just have a much clearer perspective when they look at our All Blacks than those here who are paid to write about this.
I'll be very careful with what I say next because I'm sure it will come back to bite me, but I don't think this All Blacks team necessarily has the aura of previous teams.
Now, a lot of people don't want to hear it. They want to hear that the All Black performance was okay on the weekend. It was average. I gave it a C+. No. Oh, you got to stand by the boys. You're not supporting the team. I am supporting the team, and I demand excellence from this team. And I don't buy into the narrative. I refuse to buy into the sell from the mainstream sports media here and New Zealand rugby that we're underdone, that we didn't have enough time, that this is a new coaching group. I refuse to buy into that. Listen to what Felisande said there. They only had the same amount of time as we had. They had a test against Wales a couple of weeks ago up the Northern Hemisphere. There was a B team. There was a junior box team that played mostly in that. These guys that they fly in from all over the country. They have 10 days to prepare. They have training camps, as he says. They have think tank camps. Scott Robertson's had the job since November. All of those coaches have been in place since that time. They've all known about the fact that they are going to be All Black coaches. We had a camp in January. We had a camp at the end of the Super Rugby for those that weren't playing Super Rugby finals rugby. I keep getting people messaging me saying, oh, yeah, but some of our players hadn't played for 4 weeks. Well, what about club rugby? Why don't you go and play a game of club rugby? Whose fault is that? Is that yours? Is that mine that they're not playing? It's your bloody job, mate. You're a professional player. It's your job to be prepared, to be ready. And I'm not going to buy into this NZR flash and marketing slogans and together we walk and all of that that's just tosh is what it is. We are not the Black Caps. I'll keep saying it. We're not the White Ferns. The All Blacks have set a standard. If you want the All Blacks to be a team that is just, amongst the best 3 or 4 or 5 in the world now, well, you're different from me. I don't want an All Black side that loses 3 or 4 matches a year, and that's acceptable because to me, I'll quote Graham Annesley, that's unacceptable. I want the All Blacks to be the most fair team in the world. That's what we've always been. We should be raising the bar like South Africa and Ireland, not lowering the bar and accepting the fact that, it's okay as long as the boys are having fun. Bollocks to that. I am only interested in how many test matches at the end of the year the All Blacks have won. Is unacceptable acceptable? Whenever is unacceptable acceptable? How can it by definition be acceptable if it's unacceptable? So when Graham Annesley tells us, all Warriors fans, that, that's unacceptable, what are we just meant to sit back and accept that? No. It just makes it even worse, doesn't it? How frustrating is it to be told that everything we were looking at, everything we saw, everything we're screaming about when we're yelling at the TV about it, we're right, they got it wrong. And they can say as many times as they like, we got it wrong. Yes, you did get it wrong. But 2 wrongs don't make it right, do they? Because the whole bloody thing is we end up losing the game in Golden Point. The Warrior-holic, Zane Inglis, a little more tempered and a little more calm in his reaction to Annesley's comment.
It's bloody tough, right? Because a lot of Warriors fans constantly think this is a conspiracy against us. I think it's literally incompetency. And what I honestly don't understand is if Annesley can get this right every Monday, why isn't he in the bunker?
So we accept the fact that, yes, they made a mistake.
Yeah, you've got no choice but to. What happens if you don't accept it? You're the one who's going to suffer for the next bloody 6 months, so you just got to move on.
Did it cost the game?
In theory, yes, right? Like I felt like they turned into complete pussies and didn't want to call any penalties or infringements in the last sort of 15 minutes of the game and Golden Point, because they didn't want to give away the win. But by doing that, they cost us the win. But the way I put it in context, mate, is we didn't ice probably 10 opportunities that we had, either through drop goals or constant pressure in their 20 and then kicking a ball into the hands of the fullback inside the end goal. So we can't just blame them for that. But that one call, that kick goes over every time. So in theory, it could have, yeah.
7 minutes to go means that you can't say that was the game because there's enough time for plenty of things to happen. But this is what the bunker, the TMO, VAR has done. The referees are fraidy cats. They are scared. You're exactly right. Look, there was a field goal attempt there where Curran was, right next to the referee, was way offside. During Golden Point time, you're right. They actually look the other way when it comes to penalties or when it comes to offsides, when it comes to being, encroach, all of that kind of stuff, because what they don't want to do is go, here's a penalty, therefore you're 10 yards closer, therefore you're going to kick it, that could be the game. It's just, it's almost like they've made a rod for their own backs now.
I mean, it literally is. I mean, you look at the crusher tackle we got called for and get penalised. I think it was in the first half, right down the other end of the field goes. But when we're on attack close to the end of the game, the ours is exactly the same. Jazz gets done and it was Kickow did it to him. No, we can't give that away now. Another example that sort of pissed me off with the inconsistency is the Bulldogs guy clearly got knocked out cold from running into Jazz's hip. Doesn't get an HIA, we get Devlin sent off. So there's a lot of things that I feel if you don't have technology, you can accept human error, but when you've got humans relying on this $1 billion bunker with way more angles than we get on TV, they get all the ultra slow-mo, that's where it's a lot more frustrating. The other point about this game, mate, is I totally agree with what you were saying yesterday. I can't stand Golden Point in regular season. The whole way they play the game, the whole way they ref the game, It's not NRL.
No, it's not.
So why?
No, it's not. And to me, it's anti-rugby league. It's anti the sport. You know, I actually think it turns it into a comic, is what it does. Which is why I'm absolutely adamant. If you're going to do it, just stop the clock at 80 minutes. Pick your 5 best kickers and let them all have a drop goal and see who gets the most like a penalty shootout. What? Because that's all it is. It's just a glorified drop kick off, isn't it?
And then you could say to them, look, that you shouldn't be able to win a game by a drop goal. It should be either a penalty or a try. And then they're going to say, oh yeah, but that's not part of the regular game of footy. I don't know. It's just they are pretty good, the NRL, at changing things that aren't going well. Like we've seen them sort of pull back on the disruptor rule this year that was starting to annoy people, and people weren't able to attack the attacking players to attack the kick in the air. But I think they're trying to appease the wrong people. They're trying to attract people into the game rather than trying to look after those who've been rusted on and continue to pay our memberships and pay to go to games and pay for TV subscriptions. So it's a tough balance, mate. But I've got to say that's probably, I'm tossing up whether that was a more gutting loss than the Melbourne one. They're both going to hurt for a very long time, and the 2 points, or 4 points in total, that I think may come to cost us.
Well, this is it. At the end of the season, if there's no top 8, you're going to go back and you're going to look at moments like this, aren't you? And you're going to say, what if? And that is why it comes back to my original question: is being told it's unacceptable acceptable? Because to me, it just that adds to the frustration. Yeah, we know it was wrong. We all saw it was wrong. How do you continue to get it wrong?
And I guess it's like any professional sport, right? We're talking about. It funds part of the game. Sports betting, for example, you would have had millions of dollars probably on the line in some games like that. That the wrong call by the ref that they admit later was wrong, effectively decides the game. It impacts those kind of things. It's a professional sport, but have we ever seen a sport that has gone back and retrospectively changed the outcome of a game? They never will.
They can't. They can't do that. All they can do is apologise on a Monday morning. And that just feels so in fact, it feels more unsatisfactory than...
Particularly before a bye, mate. Now we're going to sit there and think about this.
Sulk about this. I know.
But imagine being the players, though. That's all I can say. Like I said it after the game. I was gutted mostly for them to put in 88 minutes of effort with you hold back 3 out. You never, ever win a game when you lose outside backs, much less 3 of them. But to stick into that, and that's what I'm going to say. Like, Kempy's dreaming, mate. If he reckons these guys are the real deal, the ladder imposters, if they can't score more than 2 tries from an intercept and a bomb against us when we're in 14th place, there's no way they're beating anyone. And saying they beat the Sharks, well, those guys have lost 5 of their last 5.
6 games.
So, I don't know, mate. It's all hollow, but I still feel like we've got a chance. I'm still all in there. We don't need the calculators just yet.
No, I just think it's unacceptable.
Oh, mate, I've got to try. I can't focus on it, mate, or I'll go mental. I've got to let it go.
The Tight 5.
5 separate sporting topics, roughly a minute or so on each. And when this happens, we go to the next one. Marco Rojas is back at the Phoenix. No, I'm not going to buy into that either. So if that makes me a grumpy old man, I'm a grumpy old man. I think he's yesterday's man. I would rather that the Phoenix promoted a couple of youngsters. Is unacceptable ever acceptable, Mr. Annesley? Spain, France, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. First Euro Championship semi-final. Who you got? Lulu Sun tomorrow morning against Vekic. Who you got? And the United States Olympic basketball team. I'm going to read you the list of names. Just hand the guys the gold medal already. Let's kick it off with Marco Rojas. The Kiwi Messi, he was called about a decade ago. He won the Johnny Warren medal, I think, 2012, 2013 in the A-League. So that's only about 11 or 12 years ago. Look, he could come back and do what Costa has done. And I'm happy to admit I had all my doubts were about Costa because Costa was completely and utterly, I thought, overhyped and underperforming at that level for a while before he arrived, and he arrived back. And he played out of his skin and he had a hell of a season. And maybe Marco Rojas can do that. I think he's weak on the ball. I don't think he's a 15-goal-a-year guy. I think he's a sulker. And look, it's again a great marketing gimmick, and it sells headlines, and the Kiwi Messi. Look, he's never really overachieved overseas. He's a good player. Is he a great player? Is he a good player for the Phoenix? I don't know. I liked what the Phoenix did this year. They promoted youth, and it seemed to pay off. If he comes back and scores 10 to 15 goals, well, I'll be proved wrong, and I'll be happy to be proved wrong. But I'm not buying the hype train that Marco Rojas is the answer for the Phoenix.
Well, he's not. I don't think he's the answer. To be fair, I don't think anyone's saying he's the answer. I think people are getting excited because he's signed. And that's fine because there's a real love affair with him, or there has been over the last decade, which probably has worn off over the last couple of years. I'm being very diplomatic here, to be fair. But I'm not jumping for joy about it. But to be fair, Costa Barbarouses, I think, had been at the Phoenix for a year when Giancarlo Italiano took over. But he had a brilliant season and he was old, and you, more so than anyone else, probably really having a crack saying his time's done. And he proved you and me, I was probably the same, wrong. So maybe Marco Rojas do the same.
I hope so.
I'll just, I mean, winning the Johnny Warren medal is an incredible achievement, but in the great scheme of global football, not to be rude,
Well,
it's not.
The A-League's bum feeder, mate. That's what it is.
Very low level.
Yes.
So it's not as if we've signed someone who's tearing it up in the second or third division of English football. That'd be so much more exciting.
Wouldn't it?
The Phoenix probably have fourth division English football.
Well, I don't think we'd win. No, I don't think we'd win the fourth division. I don't think any A-League team would win the fourth division. 46 bitterly competitive games. It's over a hell English winter.
It's a no.
No team's going to win that out of this part of the world. No,
that's a fair point. It is a talented player. It is a Kiwi player who, at his peak, is very, very good. Probably hasn't really lived up to the potential. At least that was touted of him when he was very young. Yeah, he won the Johnny Warren medal, but it doesn't move the needle at all for the Phoenix. But look, it's a good squad. It's a good player to add to the squad.
Is unacceptable acceptable? I mean, what choice do Warriors fans? What choice does any NRL club fans have?
It's not just a Warriors thing. It's an NRL
when they get it wrong.
Thing.
Yeah, to me, it comes back to the same argument that we always have about VAR and TMO and the bunker. That you've got humans operating technology, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to get it wrong. If you want this invasive part of sport to be part of sport, you have to accept the fact that it is not foolproof, because fools are operating these systems. Now, it seems to me inexcusable for a guy in the bunker who says, I was just so concentrated on whether or not it was a head-high shot, I missed the late bit of it. He must have been the only person on the planet, that guy Adam G, who didn't see that it was late. And watching slow-mo replay, the commentators, there's no one yelling in his ear and saying, dude, have another look. Is that what you need? Do you need even more people involved in the bunker? And make it bunker by committee. Have 100 people sitting there.
No,
there must be the technology available that everyone can actually just type in and go,
It makes the situation worse.
It doesn't it?
And you know that.
I just wonder hand it back to the referees, mate. But the referees are going to get it wrong.
So if the referees get it wrong and there isn't the technology that's so accessible that the way there is now, then there's not really an argument for a call going the wrong way or not being picked up because you don't have the beneficiary or the benefit of technology. But if you have technology, there's no excuse.
Well, it doesn't appear
there's
to be.
No excuse.
No, it's not that. You just
And yet, every week, Graham Annesley fronts up and hosts this briefing where he goes through calls that probably were wrong, or he goes through calls that are contentious, but he explains why they were the right calls and reminds people, no, this is right, which is good. He's been doing this for many, many years now, since I started working as a sports journalist at Radio Sport, because I remember watching these briefings and getting any sort of interesting cuts out of it. So if that's the case, then that means that for so long, your bunker and your referees, your officials all together have been getting calls wrong.
Every week, every round,
so
every week.
When are you going to sit there and go, okay, something's not right here? Because every week I'm having to go up there and either explain decisions because no one gets it, or defend decisions, or say, no, sorry, we got that wrong. So change something.
The most frustrating thing about this is that, here's the guy who says it's wrong, it's unacceptable. Full stop. I mean, that's the frustrating bit about it, isn't it? Yes, we already knew that. We know. But nothing can happen, nothing can change. We don't get the points back, we don't get the field position back. And, this is a professional sport where these kind of things end up costing people jobs. They cost coaches jobs, right?
Well, places and teams,
Players lose their positions. So maybe to me that's the only consequence that we're not dealing with here, is that these bozos who make these mistakes, they have to pay for those mistakes like everyone else pays for those mistakes.
Whose fault is it? This is the thing. Is it the fault of the referees themselves? It is, to an extent. Or is it the fault of the people who overcomplicate everything about that job? The rule book is like a bloody encyclopedia. It's so thick. At least the PDF that I've seen online. I can imagine how thick it is. You've got so many rules in there. You've got so many different referees on the field and in the bunker. You've got so many voices in the ears of the referees. You've got so many changes to rules every year, so many innovations to the game of rugby league that are just new rules that they've got to learn. You've then got the mounting pressure week in and week out, year in and year out that are on referees because everything is so complicated. It's like cramming your brain the night before of an exam with every maths problem or solution or everything in the planet when you've only got a test that's 10 questions about, I don't know, algebra, but you're learning everything. It's shoving so much into your brain when a lot of it's useful, but so much of it might not be useful on that day and at that specific time. The whole thing needs to be stripped back. Do what Vern Cotter did with the Blues. Strip everything back, simplify it for the referees. Because what happened is you had a guy watching that hit so concerned about, is it a high tackle? Because there's such a big debate about
but that's just a fog brain. That's just an absolute fog brain on his part, isn't it?
Well, exactly, but he's so worried about it because there's all these storylines about head knocks, about issues with the sport based on player safety. So he's probably sitting there going, I've got to make sure I'm making the right call. I've got to make sure.
We just want you to get it right. But
then he's sitting there forgetting about it. I mean, imagine it's so much being crammed into your head. And,
Spain versus France.
About your job.
Who wins tomorrow morning?
I don't know. Spain. I want to say France, but probably Spain.
Why do you want to say France? They've been awful. They've been like England. They're the French version of England.
I actually think I like France.
Well, but since Mbappe took the one to the beak, they just haven't fired up at all.
Well, they weren't even that good when he had taken it to the beak, were they?
So
they only won 1-0
they're so
that game.
underwhelming. I mean, they're lucky for France that the focus is on Gareth Southgate in England and how terrible they've been, because France have been awful. They're a much better side than what we've seen.
Oh, they are.
I'm hoping that Spain win this game. We'll talk to Fred de Jong about it in about 10 minutes. I'm hoping that Spain win this game. Because they've played great football.
I don't have a horse in the race, and I'm not bothered. It's a good Spanish side. They've been playing much better, but I guess if France wanted to throw a nice little spanner in the works, it'd be kind of interesting. But I don't know. I just hope it's a good game. I hope it's like the Spain-Germany game. Tell you what, I found myself supporting Germany.
Got up and watched that at 4 a.m. What a brilliant game of football it was. Lulu Sun plays tomorrow morning against Donna Vekic.
Wow, tomorrow morning. It's midnight.
Who wins?
Well, I'm not going to act like I know a huge amount about either player. I really don't know. I don't know. I'd lean towards the other player because the idea of a New Zealand tennis player getting into the quarterfinals? No, the semi-finals.
Isn't that? I feel like they're kind of saying, "Oh, it's a fairy tale," and fairy tales aren't real, and fairy tales.
They've got to end at some point.
Don't they?
But
let's just dream for a little bit though. Let's just think we're going to wake up tomorrow morning, because I'm not going to watch this game live, but I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. The first thing I'll do is check my phone. And hopefully she's won again and she's in a semi-final.
Yeah.
I mean, what a brilliant story if that's the case.
Again, she's kind of got herself the luck of the draw. Well, not again, I can't really say that, but you look at all the players who are still in the tournament, they're all seeded. She's playing the one who's unseeded, like herself. So, it'd be spectacular if she did. I have no clue. I don't know a huge amount about either player, but it'd be wonderful if the fairy tale continues.
Finally, I'm going to read you a list of names. Anthony Edwards. Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yep.
Not a bad player.
Oh, pretty good.
Adebayo. He won a chip for Toronto.
No. He plays for Miami. You're thinking of either Ibaka or...
Oh, okay. Hasn't he won?
He's been to the finals twice.
Anthony Davis. Not a bad player.
You don't like him?
I don't. I think he's... I agree he's street close. Joel Embiid. Is he injured?
He's always injured.
Doesn't matter.
But when he's healthy, very good player.
Kevin Durant. Is he injured?
He's got a calf problem, I think. But again, when he's healthy, very good player.
So Edwards, Adebayo, AD, Embiid, Durant, Tatum just won a title with the Celtics.
Yeah, Jason Tatum, yep.
Kawhi won a couple of titles.
Very good.
Halliburton, not a bad player. Okay.
Yeah.
Booker, Phoenix.
He's pretty good.
Pretty good player.
Yep.
LeBron.
Yeah, he's not bad.
Not bad. Steph Curry can shoot.
Not bad.
And Drew Holiday, who's won chips for two different teams. That is the United States men's Olympic basketball team.
It's quite good.
Well, who's playing for second? Everyone else.
Yeah.
I doubt that any team will get 15 to 20 points within that often. No, they're going to win every game like they do every... I don't think there's a more sure gold medal. Maybe the Black Fern Women's Sevens.
They didn't win the last one, did they? Did they?
No, I think they were dead.
No, they did. Oh, no, they didn't win the Com Games one.
I think they were dead. But I think that team there, just give them the goddamn gold right now, because it's over. The All Blacks, always difficult, isn't it, whenever the All Blacks play now in New Zealand, to get any kind of a read or an opinion on the performance of the players that isn't embroiled in broadcasting partnerships, because that's the mainstream sports media now. All of these organisations sign broadcast partnerships deals with the sporting bodies, which means that all of the coverage you get is PR, it's marketing, it's schmuck, it's mostly cheese. That is why we talk to Mark Watson every week, because I just want some honesty. I just want somebody to look at sporting games, fixtures, performances and say, was it good? Was it bad? Without the fluff, without the guff. Here's what Of course, I'll always be a critic of the All Blacks because I set such a high bar for them, such a high standard. I'm a disciple of the All Blacks of old, guys that actually turned up the day before a test match and actually played well for their country and won a test match and never complained and never earned any money. I'm a disciple of the views of people like Justin Marshall and Murray Mexted and Steve Hansen and Wayne Smith, that what it is about simply is it is about you, how much you want it. You can't point the finger at somebody else and say, we didn't get enough adequate preparation. We were this, we were that. We haven't played enough. Listen, the whole of Super Rugby is geared towards the All Blacks. So for anyone to turn around and actually say to us, oh, they haven't played for 4 weeks. Well, they aren't allowed to play Super Rugby anyway, are they? They get stopped from playing every fifth bloody game. Listen, if you haven't played for 4 weeks as a professional rugby player in this country, whose fault is that? Is it yours, Mark? Is it mine? Is it every other All Blacks fan? Surely you've got a personal training regime. Surely that there is some program in place that says you're going to go out and have physical contact with other players to keep yourself up, that level of intensity up. These are some basic facts here, mate. That Scott Robertson took the job over in November. All of those coaches that are in place have known since November that they were going to be All Black coaches. There was a camp in January for the All Blacks. There was another one after the Super Rugby season finished. 10 days in camp together with a whole lot of guys that have played dozens of tests together sounds to me like enough preparation to play a test match. We didn't play very well. That's all I'm saying. I wasn't impressed by it. I thought it was a pretty average performance from an All Black side that I expected better off. We will get better this week. I guarantee it, because the All Blacks do tend to go upward trajectory and do improve. But I'm just not prepared to buy the narrative that we're constantly getting sold now, mate. Because as soon as we buy that narrative with the All Blacks, that it's all about Instagram likes and it's all about hashtags and it's all about having fun, well, then we're going to lose the focus of what this team is about. And the only thing I care about the All Blacks is how many goddamn tests each year they've won.
Yeah, and look, I expect every time Martin, the All Blacks are out, I expect them to win. Apologise to Me, which is the name of this podcast, came off the back of Steve Hansen, off the back of a test loss to Australia, telling me that it'll all be okay, the sun will come up in the morning, and you could hear the anger that I had in me, because I don't find it acceptable. I don't like this once every 4 years. You've heard me say it 1,000 times. If we make it about once every 4 years, that's all rugby has to left. This is the irony, isn't it? Oh, we don't want you playing too much Super Rugby because we don't want you being tired. Oh, we haven't had enough game time. There's a thing called senior club rugby. Go and play 3 weeks of senior club rugby, and but they might get injured. There's always this reason not to play, isn't there? I mean, South Africa seemed to hit the ground running.
Well, they did.
I thought Ireland seemed to hit the ground running.
They did.
Australia actually
they did.
Australia didn't actually look too bad either.
Just on that, we actually spoke to Phyllis Andre Sakaba out of Super Sport. They had 10 days to prepare. Their players flew in from all over the world. They got a brand new attack coach, a brand new defence coach. They seem to have raised the bar and they seem to be playing better than last year. Yeah. That's what we have to aspire to now. Yeah. I don't want us to be one of 4 or 5 teams in the world that can win a test match, Mark. I want us to be them.
Yeah, no, look, we need to win everything. But look, the other thing is, Martin, it's vital we do, because what is the All Black brand? What is ultimately that brings the money in? We are the most highly endorsed, the biggest brand in world rugby. We've done that because of our winning record. We've done that because of that brand, a performance, no compromise, and absolute precision. And if you start accepting losses in the name of building and development, then you actually erode that brand, and then you've actually got nothing left to sell. And this mantra, which does my head in from the English, the All Black aura is gone, will actually eventually come true. It will actually go. I don't believe that is the case at the moment, Martin. But look, I sit here and I go, so let's have a look. I wasn't a fan of Ian Foster. I wanted Scott Robertson to be my coach. I didn't want Scott Hansen. I don't want Corey Flynn. I don't want Leon McDonald. I don't want Jason Ryan. I don't want Jason bloody Holland. I want a coach. I mean, how many coaches have we got? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, plus some other hang-ons. That is called coaching by committee, Martin. It's not going to work. It is going to fail. You've got Leon McDonald, who I think we saw Vern Cotter probably show up as maybe, in hindsight, maybe being not really ready to take on the Blues. He did a good job, but clearly not at the same level of Vern Cotter. Why do we need so many coaches? Who is actually running the ship here? Where's the compromise coming? What is the game plan of Scott Robertson? All I saw from this All Black team was exactly the same thing that we tried to do under Hansen towards the end of his tenure, and the same thing we've seen under Ian Foster. Let's just play the game at pace. Let's not earn the right to go wide. Let's just play this helter-skelter and try and run the English around. You know, you've mentioned, and we discussed this via text during the test and stuff, that go back to 2019. We still haven't figured out a way of this rush defence and then coming in from the outside in and looking to shut us down and how we negate that. I tell you what, Vern Cotter showed us how to do it. Use your bloody forwards, pick and go, bruise them up front, bring in the likes of the Caleb Clarks, bring in some of these other midfield backs that almost act as, you know, rather than 8 forwards going forward, 10 forwards going forward. It's a simple bloody game. But I also think the other thing holding the All Blacks back is the fact that we do have Artie Severe playing at 8. He needs to play at 7. If he plays at 7, it gives us more options, I think, in the loose. I am just not convinced with our loose forward setup at the moment. I don't think Papali'i's of All Black level. I'd like to see Ethan Blackadder possibly come in at 6. And why not? Why not? If you're going to pick him and you're going to leave Hoskins Satutu out, why not give Wallace Atiti a crack at 8? When is the right time, Martin? Because the current crop of players are not doing it.
To hear the full interview, download the platform at the App Store. Via Platform Plus, you can go back and listen to the whole show and all of the interviews in full. Lulu Sun playing tonight, quarterfinals at Wimbledon. Remember the name. What a fantastic story this is. Just a real heartwarming New Zealand sports story. Excellence, achievement. How difficult is it when you're on tour and you don't make the first round of tournaments? I mean, Lulu came from the qualifiers, remember, faced a match point in the qualifiers to get to this particular position. If you're just out there battling away, going to satellite tournaments, up against every other bot on the side of the place who is trying desperately to do what Lulu has just done, how difficult is it? Alistair Hunt spent the best part of a decade out there on the pro tour, just scratching and scuffing away. First, the achievement, and then also the difficulty of what she has already gone through to get where she is now. You battled out there on the professional tour as well. And, you know, I just want to get through to people how difficult this is. It can be a really lonely life. It's not, you know, when you get into the upper echelon of it and you're in the top 10 or whatever, you've got great sponsors, you've got 5 coaches, you've got beautiful hotels and someone else is doing your schedule. But for somebody like her, it's not like that. And you've been through this.
Yeah, well, I wish I'd made the quarters of Wimbledon, but
sure, yes.
You know,
you beat a reigning Wimbledon champ, my friend. So that's actually one on the. You know, you can always have that.
It's mate, it's a brutal life, and it's you know, for one, you're away from home. She's obviously based probably over that side of the world, but for us, you know, coming out in New Zealand, you're spending 8, 9, 10 months away. You're just with your 2 bags of clothes and your rackets and some shoes and battling, you know. And I think it's when you're down in the lower levels, you know, it's a tough gig. You're living in your $20, $30 a night sort of Airbnbs and that sort of side of it, and then more money you earn, you can jump up a little bit. But mate, it's a very tough existence, and I think one at the beginning, you know, you're really doing your apprenticeship and you've got to have the funding and the support around you to try and get through an apprenticeship and also be good enough. If you're not good enough, you're never going to graduate as such, and you're living in that world of apprenticeship the whole time. And we can see there, you know, our number one guy at the moment's 500 in the world and, you know, definitely not making ends meet and struggling, you know, week to week to try and play. So on top of winning, you've got the constant battle of, you know, where's the next meal coming from? Where am I staying? You know, how much does that flight cost? All that sort of stuff. And then, you know, when you're lower level, you're entering sort of 3 tournaments probably at once. And if you get in one, then, you know, that flight could be $2,000 or $3,000 to get there, whereas the one you wanted's only $500 to get there. But you got in the other one, you didn't make the close one, so you got to front up $2,000 or $3,000 to get there. And you know, it's a nasty cycle if you're not careful, and just something you got to find other avenues to try and make a dollar. You know, I was lucky enough; I had pretty good club contracts, and you know, I lived in France for 12 years there at one stage. So had the ability to earn reasonable money out of club tennis over there, and which not a lot of our guys are sort of doing at the moment. So that helped me a lot. Also, the system, is a little bit different. I had pretty good support from New Zealand Tennis during my time. Those days are done as such, so there's not much coming through from them towards the players at the moment, I don't think. So yeah, it's not an easy existence. Also, it's pretty lonely. I mean, you're struggling to pay for yourself, let alone coaches and maybe your girlfriend or boyfriend partner sort of side of things. So yeah, it's a tough gig, and the quicker you can get through your apprenticeship as such, the better it is.
Does it make you laugh when, we have several sports teams in this country who, I look at our white fern cricketers. I mean, I don't know how many women play cricket in this country, but, to me, it's an easy team. It seems to get into the most. You get flown business class. You live in a 5-star hotel. Your results are never scrutinised. And you compare that to what she's going through, where it just seems to be you're flying solo here, and it's all about you. You don't have that support team around you. You don't have the ability to turn to the National Association and say, oh well, look, I haven't been prepared. I need more coaching. I need more resources. None of that's there.
No, exactly. And that's the big interesting question. I mean, my boy next year, he's trying to go to college in the States, and we've been living down south for a long time. There's not much sort of tennis or anything down there as such in the way of support tournaments, that sort of side of it. And to be honest, I tried to push him into a team sport because I was like forever. I said, don't play tennis, mate. Please don't play tennis. It's the last thing I want to do is hang around tennis courts. And I just know how hard it is, So for me, I was like, please go and play rugby, soccer, cricket, just anything in a team environment. So yeah, look, you're 100% right on that. It's brutal. And, the worst thing I think being out there, especially when you're struggling financially, is if you haven't got the support with you. It's a pretty lonely existence going to tournaments on your own, and even having a win or a loss, you're sitting in the hotel room on your own. If you're lucky, you might have one other person, or there's a mate there that one of the players you sort of eat dinner with and do that sort of side of things. But it can be, it's brutal. I remember turning up in Czechoslovakia one time, and I remember at the tournament I asked 27 guys to hit, and no one would hit. So wow. I'm out there trying to, no coach, no nothing there, and it was a late entry into the tournament. I got in through some withdrawals and flew there last minute and arrived the afternoon before I had to play, and I started counting, got to 27, and no one had sort of have a hit. So it's just that sort of, stuff is a brutal life. So there's obviously a lot of different avenues with the college and, academies and things like that, but that's all more money. It's some, you're having to fund that, and someone else is having to fund that. And to be honest, most of our guys and girls playing at the moment are looking for heavy funding, and they're out there spending a lot of other people's money as such to try and get something across the line and graduate out of the apprenticeship. So if you look at it as a business, most of their businesses are bankrupt, and that's the brutal side of it. Is if you opened a business and put $500 or $1 million towards it and don't get any return, well, the bank stops lending pretty quickly, doesn't it? So that's the outside pressure. So it's not easy, and it's you don't have that support, and if you can't afford that support, then it's a pretty tough gig.
That's our podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to listen to the entire show 1 till 4 Monday to Friday, download the Platform app, and via Platform Plus you can go back and listen to whatever shows over however many weeks at your leisure, at your listening pleasure. Platform Plus. First thing to do though is download the Platform app.
Devlin.
Unbelievable. Incredible.
The Platform.